Hello everybody, this is Dragonzilla here, and for tonight's review, I will be looking back on a set to which I said would become reality a very long time ago, and that would be the Collecta Mini Prehistoric Animal Tube. Now you're probably thinking, hold on a minute, didn't you already review this set? And yes, you are right, I did, back in early 2019. However, I really wasn't pleased with the original, for so many reasons. One, it was too long to the point where I had to chop the video into 3 parts. 2, I talked for too long on each creature, because these are miniatures, and they should be looked over for 30 seconds, not 5 minutes. And 3, I didn't like the order in which I showed each animal off. In the original, I started with the great, then the weak, and finally the best, where now I feel like it should have been chronological, beginning with Megaserps and finishing off with the woolly mammoth, which is why I'm remaking this review. So before we start, I'll give you a brief description on this set. This is one of Collecta's many tube sets, and it was originally announced back in late 2018 and was released at the beginning of 2019. The figures are scaled down miniature versions of Cenozoic and one Paleozoic animal that Collecta have made so far, well at least at the time this set came out, because they have done models of more of these extinct giants since, to which I would love to see a second set, but I digress. And to make them a little different from their full-size counterparts, the poses have been switched. Beginning with our only representative of the Permian period, we have good old Megaserps, which in my opinion is one of Collecta's best, not only for large, but in miniature as well. I am aware that Megaserps is an underrated figure because the green is too bright, however this was an animal of the swamps. So I welcome this paint job, even though I would have gone for a more darker colour scheme, something that you would see on their Kulosuchus model. However, for a miniature, it's fine. On the larger figure, the jaw is articulated, so you have the option to display him with the mouth open or shut, where on the miniature, it's been sculpted open, and it's permanently like that. Out of all the figures in this set, Megaserps actually makes me feel very nostalgic. Why, you may ask? Well, that's because many years ago, when I was a kid back in the day, I used to have Pokemon figures, mainly the legendary types, like Groudon and Kyogre, and I had both large and miniatures, so this figure does actually remind me of those models. Like I said, it's a nostalgia thing. Now when Collecta first announced this set, people were confused on why this guy was in a set of prehistoric mammals. Well, that's because Megaserps, like so many of his kind, those being the synapsids and thoracids, were the distant ancestors of mammals. So it makes sense for the crowned crocodile to be part of the set, and also, if I remove him from the set, it does look pretty dull without him being there. Overall, this is a great figure, just like his full-size counterpart, and one of the set's best. Now on to the mammals, and for the Eocene epoch, we have 4 representatives. And the first one of these is Uandium. Again, it's a scaled down version of the original, and just as energetic. He comes with his horns that are like those of a giraffe, and his saber-like tusks, which make him a bit more unique. However, they have some slight smudges, which will be hard to keep tidy, especially on a tiny miniature. He has the tiger-like stripes, but where on the larger figure the stripes had a natural feel to them, the miniatures appear to look more animated. In fact, the mini model itself feels more like a cartoon character, rather than an animal that once existed. And it's another one that makes me feel nostalgic. Like the full-size counterpart, we can also see that this is a male. Now I don't cover media appearances for miniatures, as I only do that for the larger models. However, because I didn't do it for the deluxe figure, I thought I'll do it for the miniature instead. Because Uandium has only had 2 on-screen appearances, such as The Last Dinosaur in 1975, where he was mistaken for a ceratopsian, and it also turned up in a Japanese commercial for Couple Noodles. So like the larger model, Uandium is another great miniature that has charm. Here is our first carnivore, which is this guy, Sarus. Now this animal is interesting because most depictions portray it as a giant wolf-like creature, where in reality it may have actually been more in pterodon-like in appearance. So like Uandium, he too has stripes, but this time they are accompanied by spots, and they have an animated look to them, where the larger models are more natural and realistic. His teeth are sculpted, However, only the canines and front teeth are painted white, while the others are the same colour as the rest of the mouth. Unfortunately, unlike the deluxe model, the nose isn't painted black. Even though this version of the animal is outdated by today's standards, I still like it, and here he is with the miniature Sarus from the Safari Limited Prehistoric Life Tube. Maybe I'll cover that set someday. Next up is another giant of the Eocene epoch, which is Megaserps. This animal at first looks like a rhino, and you would be forgiven into thinking that it must be an ancestor of the rhinoceros, but it was actually more closely related to the horse. However, Megaserps and Uandium are not the only rhino lookalikes in this set that you will be seeing shortly. Like the full-size counterpart, he is trotted along, and I do get horse vibes with him, so it does actually make sense. And we can also tell that this is a male. The mouth isn't painted like the larger figure, which is understandable. Maybe not as good as the deluxe version, but still a nice little model. The Eocene epoch really was the era of rhino lookalikes, wasn't it? As we have another, but this one is a personal favourite of mine. Well, for Eocene creatures that is. And that would be this guy, Aroerium, and it's also my third favourite figure out of this set. Now, Aroerium is unique because it looked like a rhino, lived like a hippo, but it was actually more closely related to the elephant, which is absolutely insane to think about. That blew my mind when I heard that from the great Nigel Martin when he did Sea Monsters. He's a light grey, while the full-size model seems to be a dark bluey sort of colour. That's how I could describe it. And his hair is a tan brown, and unlike Megaserps, Aroerium does have a painted mouth, so the figure doesn't look too dull. Even though, yes, he does look like he's wearing lipstick. He wouldn't be Aroerium without his iconic horns, which made predators think twice before attacking, but they would have also been a handicap because they would have given him poor eyesight. And of course, despite being a miniature, he still possesses a big butt. Aroerium is in the top 10 for me, especially after starring alongside Nigel Martin in Chased by Sea Monsters. By the way, for some reason, Aroerium reminds me of Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. And to finish off, here he is with the Kyodor Dinotails Aroerium Gashapon and Mini Aroerium from the Safari Limited Prehistoric Life Tube. So that's the Eocene covered. Now on to the next epoch of the Cenozoic, which would have been the Oligocene. And this set has two representatives from that time. And the first of these is Parasar Aerium, the biggest land animal to ever exist since the sauropods. And would have been the biggest until Paleoloxodon Pneumaticus arrived on the scene millions of years later and beat it. This miniature is a scaled down version of Collecta's old, now discontinued model of Parasar Aerium that was originally released back in 2009. However, if you wish to, it also makes a good cast for the new 2022 deluxe model. Parasar Aerium seems to have an identity crisis, because it used to be called Belugatherium, and in my day its name was Intricatherium. Why all the name changes, I have no idea. I'm no expert on the giant rhino who would imitate a giraffe, so if anybody knows, please tell me. Another creature that was native to the Oligocene epoch was the Terminator Pig Deon, which was more closely related to the hippo rather than the pig. Like Sarus, his canines and front teeth are painted white, and the face is all brown where the deluxe models is white and black. Like the full-size version, the miniature has a shrink-wrap appearance, which wouldn't have been possible on the real animal. And if you want a Deon model that's more muscular, then Safari has you covered. There's not really a lot to say on this guy, as well as Parasar Aerium, other than it looks nice. After the Oligocene came the Miocene epoch, which is a very obscure period, mainly because it rarely gets represented, as it lives in the shadow of the late Cretaceous period. I wonder why. But anyway, the set does at least have two representatives from the Miocene. Moropus is the only mammal from that time who Collecta have made a figure of, and it is at present the only one, mammal-wise at least. The others, however, lived either before or after the Miocene epoch. Even though I do like this miniature, it's actually one of my least favourites. I don't hate it, I just don't care for it. Moropus is a nice little model. Sorry guys, there's not much to say on this one. The other Miocene species isn't a mammal, but a terror bird, Kellen. Now this avian is very obscure, as the likes of Forest Racus and Titanus come to mind when you think of terror birds. while poor old Kellen lives in their shadows. On camera he appears to be a dark blue colour, however in the plastic he's actually black, like his full-size counterpart, and this could be the way he is painted, but from the front his face looks like it's stuffed with food. Some collectors have reported that their miniature Kellekens have standing up issues. Luckily mine doesn't fall over often, thankfully. However, he is a delicate stander, and one slight tap could knock him over easily. But I could always just stick him onto a curtain weight. Terrorbirds are such epic predators, and they certainly need more attention in the model making industry. The set so representative of the Pliocene epoch is the mighty Dinotherium. Now this has got to be my favourite model of the whole set, hands down. The miniature itself is a mixture of tan brown and rusty brown, so it's the closest to a red figure in the set. I'm not saying that Dinotherium itself would have been red in life, as it's most likely that he would have been light grey like you see on elephants. Despite this being a tiny model, the teeth are very well captured, even though the larger figures look far more superior, and those fan-like tusks that only help to make Dinotherium look so epic are just beautiful. Unfortunately, on one of the tusks, a bit of paint got caught. Collecta certainly knocked it out of the park, especially when it came to Dinotherium. For both large and miniature, he's definitely up there with the likes of Megaserps and Aroerium. And here he is with two other prehistoric elephants, those being the Kyodor Planibelodon from the Capsule Extinct Animal set, and the Kyodor Dino Tails Paleoloxodon Gashapon. Finally are the icons of the Cenozoic, which are Smilodon and Woolly Mammoth, from the Pleistocene epoch, the era of the Ice Age. But before we look at the mammoth, let's first talk about the knife tooth itself, Smilodon, better known as the saber-toothed cat. Again, this is another favourite of mine. Well, who doesn't love this cat? Even though the larger deluxe model is far more superior. Unfortunately, mine suffers from derp eye syndrome. One eye is looking straight and the other is looking up. However, the rest of the figure makes up for it. I love the roaring pose that he's in, showing off his large sabers, which look awesome. Like Uandium, he too is animated in appearance, and it's lighter where the deluxe model looks more natural. Smilodon is a truly iconic predator of the Pleistocene. No Cenozoic set would be complete without this carnivore. And here he is with some other miniature saber-toothed cats that I currently have in the collection. And finally, you all know who this is. The most famous and recognisable icon of the Ice Age, the Woolly Mammoth. Now, Collecta's Mammoth is quite different compared to other Mammoth figures, because he is looking towards the side, where previous models are either facing forward, have their heads turned slightly, or iconically, have their trunks raised up, calling out. You get the idea. When I originally bought this set, his left tusk was unfortunately bent. However, nowadays it isn't as bad as it was, as it's slowly warping back into place. There's always the old boiling hot water trick, but other than that he is a great miniature mammoth. And this is what he looks like with other miniature mammoths that I have in the collection, which are the Kyodor Dino Tails Woolly Mammoth Gashapon and Mini Mammoth from the Safari Limited Prehistoric Life Tube. I do not have Collecta's full-size Woolly Mammoth model, as I have many others, but again he's still a nice Woolly Mammoth figure, and the set would be incomplete without him. So, final thoughts on the Collecta Mini Prehistoric Animal Tube. Honestly guys, I think that this is a great little set of miniaturized versions of some of Collecta's past figures, and it can be enjoyable for all ages, not just for kids but adults too. Since this set came out, Collecta have done many other creatures from both the Cenozoic and Paleozoic, and they have been known to do more than one tube set of dinosaurs, so maybe for a second prehistoric animal set, I would like to see miniaturized versions of Gomphotherium, Elasmotherium, Basilosaurus, the Thylacine, Didicurus, the new Parasar Aerium, Diprotodon, and for the non-mammals, why not add Megalodon, Dimetrodon, Edavrosaurus, Lycowicia and Placerias. And to finish off, I'm going to be ranking each figure. Now I love all the models, however there are some that I'm not 100% enthusiastic on, but it's just my opinion. So from least to best, my rankings are Moropus, Parasar Aerium, Deodon, Andrewsarchus, Megaserps, Uandium, Kellen, Woolly Mammoth, Smilodon, Aroerium, Estamenosuchus, and Dinotherium. That's all I have to say on this set, folks. I enjoy talking about it again, and I think that you all agree with me that it's a billion times better than the previous review that I did on the set back in early 2019. This is Dragonzilla signing out. Take care and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.